Well, hey y'all, and welcome back to another reaction video. If this is your first time, hey and welcome. I am Natalie Love. This is the Love family, okay? This is the Love tribe, this is the Love village, this is the Love gang, okay? All of that. That'll be the last time you ever see me do this on camera. Corniest shit ever. And I'm mad that I did it. Anyway, so we are getting into a reaction today of the 15 most haunted houses on earth. Now, again, I'm not a fan of scary shit while Mike is not here. Like, scary movies that I already know because I've seen the actors and other shit, I'll be alright. But, like, haunted houses and stuff like that, because I done had my encounter with paranormal. And if I can find a video, cue clip right here. Or anything. So, a little bit of backstory. This was 2016. My grandmother had recently passed away. And I was in a mode, child. That was one of them days I had to just keep calling on her. And then this happened while I was recording.
Shit ready before you fucking...
shit ready before you fucking...
But if I don't find the video, you'll see me say cue clip and there will be no clip. Problem? Oh, okay. So, again, welcome to the Love family. Won't you join? Won't you subscribe? It's free. Huh? Won't you watch an ad or two? That's Princess down there. My little raccoon. Okay, in case you did not know, she's my dog. She's the Jack Russell. Small, long legs. So without further ado, let's get into the video.
Have you ever sat at home alone when suddenly you feel a presence around you? Have you ever heard something go bump in the night? No matter whether you believe in the paranormal or not, we've all experienced things that we can't explain.
Word.
It's time to make sure your lights are switched on, because here are the 15 most haunted houses on Earth.
What else them houses?
Number 15, the Sally House.
Heavenly Father, before we get into this, Lord, I ask you to keep this house safe and cleansed, oh God. I ask that you understand, as well as all paranormal, Lord Jesus, as well as all of your angels that are still roaming this earth, that we are only doing this for entertainment purposes. We are not asking that any of them come here. We are not summoning any of them here. We just literally want to watch other people look at them, Lord Jesus. So I say thank you in covering me and everybody under the sound of my voice watching this video, covering our homes, houses, hearts, and hands, Lord Jesus. Thank you in advance. Let's continue.
House, Kansas. Built in the mid-1800s in Atchison, Kansas, from the outside, the notorious Sally House looks like any other. It is, however, considered to be one of the most haunted houses in the U.S. While it's possible to stay there overnight, all guests have to sign a waiver upon entry to take responsibility for any injuries they may suffer while on the property. The home once belonged to the town's doctor and was where he treated all of his patients. One day, the mother of 6-year-old Sally...
I'm glad I was born in the time I was born in, because certain doctor coats scare me. If you come in there and one side of your shit is buttoned slightly slanted, I got a problem with that. And then if you got rubber gloves all the way up to your goddamn biceps, where you finna stick that much hand? Don't be scared. Princess just left the room. I'm not telling you, I'm telling me. Where you finna put that much arm and hand and stuff? Where's that going? Why do you need all of that sanitation?
Rushed in with her daughter in her arms after she had collapsed with abdominal pains. The doctor knew straight away that this was a case of appendicitis, and that he'd have to operate quickly to prevent the organ from bursting inside her body. There was just enough time to give her some painkillers, but not enough to let them fully take effect. So as the surgery began, the house was filled with chilling screams from the girl. Unfortunately, the procedure failed, and Sally died on the operating table, with her final thought being of this evil man who she believed was torturing her. More than 100 years later, in 1993, a couple moved into the house and soon began experiencing weird events that appeared to prove that the spirit of Sally has been trapped there. Strange cold spots, unexplained fires, and mysterious attacks on the husband became common, as did technical malfunctions, objects seemingly moving on their own, and animals refusing to enter some of the rooms.
Hey, I will say that. Animals and spirits, animals do not fuck around about spirits. Like, I believe that there's an entity here, but it's not upset that we're here, because there are certain times in here, Princess will go fucking crazy out of nowhere. And I don't, like I say again, it don't bother me because I believe my grandmother goes everywhere I go anyway. So it could be her and it could be somebody else. But you know what I'm saying? I don't believe that it doesn't hurt or harm nobody. It don't do stupid shit, but you can see figments. And one day I'm gonna bring it up and have Mike let y'all know, because he's seen it too. But you can see figments in here, but it's not like you know how you go somewhere and it's like ghostly where it's scary. It don't feel like that. You know what I'm saying? But even me and Shatar was sitting here one day and the doorbell rung. Nobody's at the door and we both sitting down. Shatar was like, "Are you serious?" So, but I don't think it's either a person that was either elderly or it was a person that was a child. You know what I'm saying? But they don't bother us like that. Knock on wood, we can keep it that way. They're probably like, "Oh, so you gonna tell my business. So you gonna tell my business." But yeah, no, but it be certain spots of the house that Princess will not fuck with. Unless me or Mike is in there, then she cool. But like I said, I don't believe it be a bad thing. I don't believe it be like a spirit fucking with her. I just believe she see it.
Number 14, Chateau du Brizac, France.
It looked like they ghost wasn't mean. She was just a child.
Constructed in Maine-et-Loire in France in the 11th century as a castle. With 7 stories, it's the tallest in France and has become a residence as well as a film set in subsequent years. But with so much history and gruesome events that took place within these walls, it's perhaps no surprise that many believe the place to be haunted. There are several ghosts that are reported by guests, the most common one being the Green Lady, said to be the specter of an illegitimate daughter of King Charles VII. She was supposedly murdered.
Oh, it's at time.
What caught her having
What is a beautiful...
So, y'all already know. Normally watch the ads. Hold on, let me see original series. Essence Studios. Because I want to see what this is. All right.
having an affair.
Sorry.
To this day, she's said to walk around the chapel and the rooms next to it, completely covered in a green dress and veil, with holes where her eyes and mouth should be. Her moans and cries can be heard echoing out across the entire building on quiet nights, which has resulted in the chateau becoming a very popular destination for ghost hunters and those wanting to test their bravery by staying overnight in one of the lavish rooms that retain all of their original historical features.
You want to test your bravery? Live. You want to test your bravery? Move out. Graduate. Finish everything you start. You want to test your goddamn bravery? Pay every bill on time, all the time, with no complaint. You want to test your bravery? Have a child. Get a dog if you don't get a dog if that ain't what you really want. You want to test your bravery? Why would you test your bravery with some shit that can stick to you for the rest of your goddamn life like that? You don't know why it's mad. You can't talk to it. It don't want to talk to you. Because it ain't mad at you. It's just mad that you around. Test your bravery.
Features.
I don't even like the wood paneling in there. The wood looks scary.
The story behind the whole
I don't like no whole bunch of furniture.
Iceland is a strange one because it was not only the site of an
First of all, the house looks like Beetlejuice. The house looks like a scene from Beetlejuice. I'm not living in that. I'm not visiting that. I don't want to know who live in that. Then it's just, there's no need for that much house. I guess because I'm not the people person. Like, there's no need for that much house. There's no need for that much exclusion. Because it's literally house, road, water. So many ways of suicide. That house feels very somber to me. Just looking at it right here. This is not postcard-esque house.
incredibly important historic event, But it's
Look
also
where
one
it
of
is.
tales of hauntings that have taken far more seriously than most. Built in 1909, it had several famous inhabitants, such as the French consul at the time.
It's just not in an attractive location.
Poet. During the 40s and 50s,
God
it was the
damn.
location of the British
I
consulate
need
city.
to get some
Then
lips.
in 1987, the location
I can talk about clears all day long. I don't have no lips for a Blake. I don't have no lips for a Blake. I miss my mouth every time. If I open the cap with these, it always fall out my mouth and on the ground. I miss my mouth with every fucking thing that I put in it. But I'm just...
the Reykjavik Summit, which was a meeting between President Ronald Reagan and Mikhail Gorbachev, which paved the way towards the end of the Cold War. It was during this time as the British Embassy that it was first recognized as a mysterious place, however, with stories of ghosts and strange happenings taking place. According to local legend, it's haunted by the spirit of a young girl, although no one is sure who she is except for the fact that she could be linked to the Viking burial ground that's supposedly beneath the property. The British representative who lived there, John Greenway, became so perturbed by the odd sounds through the night and paranormal events that he wrote to the British government to insist that the consulate was moved elsewhere. His account was so compelling that later they sold the house back to the Icelandic government just a few weeks later. Even to this day, the official response to questions about the house is, "We do not confirm or deny that the Hofti has a ghost."
First of all, how do y'all always know that these ghosts be like kid, girls, and women? We ain't the only ones that like to stay here. Like little girls don't have, like little boys don't have long, shabby hair.
New York has a number of properties that are believed to be haunted, but the most famous of them all is the ominously named House of Death in Greenwich Village.
Full of women, right?
To begin with, it was a popular place with the rich, becoming home to the family of a railroad tycoon. They eventually moved out in the 1980s, though, and it's since then the house became associated with strange happenings. In 1896...
Now, for my people on the East Coast, I believe that only have like high rises and such, that shit looks scary too. I can't stand no building right next to no building. I feel claustrophobic. And it's like literally a concrete jungle. Like, do they even have mountains in New York? I hate it here because I feel like we're in the middle of an ashtray because there's mountains all around this motherfucker. Then it's us. Okay, that's just how that shit look when you in the eye, Lord Jesus. When you in the air flying, that's just what it looked like. It looked like a little ashtray with a whole bunch of lights in it. So, I don't like it. And then it's dark. I don't like it. Play. Oh, okay. So I see what you finna do.
The new owner of
Get out of here,
famous cyclists
McAfee.
experienced a moment of recklessness where he hit a young boy while riding and was subsequently arrested. He
So
soon
McAfee
found
gonna
the
move
house,
when
and
it
its
moves.
resident was none other than Mark Twain, who also wrote of paranormal experiences, such as floating pieces of wood and peculiar sensations. Later residents reported seeing ghoulish shadows, visions, and strange noises. And then in 1987, something terrible.
Yeah, hold on.
A young girl was killed there with repeated blows to her head. And the police that attended the scene reported eerie happenings and strange behaviors by everyone present. The parents were arrested and convicted with drugs blamed for their actions. But there has always been the suspicion that the strange aura of the house may have influenced their behavior, with strange events also reported in the neighboring homes. Is it possible that the dark shadow surrounding this house is now spreading? No.
You know what, though? That's crazy. That's crazy. Just because sometimes I've never been in a situation where it feels like I would want to harm myself or other people. But I know what it feels like to be in a certain section of the fucking house and you just don't feel good in there. Like sometimes when I be in this room too long, it's like, all right, you gonna have to come up out of here. Cause no, come up out of here. And I either leave, and then sometimes I just don't feel like being here. So I'll leave the whole house entirely. So I don't.
Number 11, Rainham Hall, England. The English countryside has a number of lavish, stately homes, and one of the most impressive of all is known as Rainham Hall. First built in the 17th century, it's become home to the Townsend family for almost 400 years. But it's also believed to be one of the most haunted
I don't like all that
buildings
shit
in
on the
country.
ceiling.
And was the location
I don't
of
like all that
the
pattern in the room.
Every corner was taken. The Townsend family has been influential in English politics for centuries, with Charles Townsend marrying Lady Dorothy Walpole, the sister of the country's first prime minister,
Goddamn
in
weird.
the early 1700s. He was a notoriously violent man, and after finding out she was having an affair, locked her in the residential rooms and never again allowed her to leave. By 1726, she was extremely unwell and died of smallpox, and most people thought that to be the end of the story. Over a century later, however, during a Christmas party, guests at the hall encountered a mysterious entity, which is now known as the Brown Lady. Believed to be the spirit of Lady Dorothy, she mainly walks up and down the main staircase, which was the setting for the infamous image captured in 1936 for Country and Life magazine. Does this truly show a ghost, or is it camera trickery? And either way, is it possible that the ghost of Lady Dorothy still walks the hall to this day? Number 10, Dragslum Slot, Denmark.
I know I wouldn't want to. Shit, you like me in a room in this motherfucker. I want to walk out this bitch.
On the island of Zealand in Denmark. Intended as a use as a home, it was upgraded and converted for several other purposes in the following centuries.
That's just too much house.
A fortification against invasion and a prison.
That's like one of them houses. That's one of them houses somebody else can be living in that bitch with you, and you don't even know it.
Until it was blown up by rebels in the 17th century, and work began to completely restore it as a residential castle once more. With its many uses, there are countless tales of atrocities that took place there.
I can imagine.
From prisoners to the executions of innocent people, all the way through the 20th century, when it was used as a barracks during the World Wars. And some of the victims are still said to haunt anyone who sets foot there.
Oh yeah, I wouldn't doubt it. Look how it
three
looks.
Distinct ghosts, a gray lady, a white lady, and Lord Bothwell, who was one of Mary, Queen of Scots' husbands.
Oh, finally.
On the castle grounds as a prisoner. Locals tend to try and stay well clear of the place, despite having now been turned into a luxury hotel. With a large number of guests each year, many of whom want the chance to see ghosts for themselves. Do you think you'd be able to get a restful night's sleep on a site where so many people suffered in unimaginable ways?
Nah, because you don't know what's in the room that you in.
Massachusetts. The Lizzie Borden House is one of the most famous haunted locations in the United States, following a series of tragic events in the late 19th century. Located in Fall River, Massachusetts, it was owned between 1874 and 1892
Who would want to live in that kind of
Andrew Borden and
house?
his wife, where they lived with his daughter, Lizzie Borden. To outsiders, the family lived a happy life.
There's
and had
kids
regular
there.
guests who visited to stay with them. But this facade all came crumbling down in August 1892, when both adults were viciously murdered with an axe. Andrew had apparently been struck 10 or 11 times in the head while he was asleep, with such ferocity that one of his eyeballs was split in half. And the first responder on the scene reported hearing Lizzie cackling with laughter from one of the other rooms. Lizzie was arrested and tried for the murders, but was acquitted and spent the rest of her life living in another house in the same town. As for the other building where the atrocities took place, it's now a guest house where there are regular reports of paranormal activity, supposedly the actions of the trapped souls of the people who were killed there. We're constantly.
Then I don't even want the picture. Like why would I want the pictures in here? I don't want these goddamn pictures in here.
Carl Beck House, Canada.
You get these pictures out of here.
Accessible haunted houses.
Put some pictures of some other shit, but it's literally a haunted house where people go stay.
In Canada, because it's actually available to hire through Airbnb. The Victorian home was built in 1885 by a wealthy local lumber merchant called Carl Beck, where he lived with his wife and their 9 children. Beck, who also became mayor of the town, loved to
They must not have watched TV much.
So much so that he was the first in the area to own a motor car, a 1903 Oldsmobile that's still on display in the local museum. Things didn't exactly go well for the family, though, and his wife passing away from a mysterious illness which left his eldest daughter Mary to take care of her siblings while he continued running his business. When he died, he left his entire fortune to his children, except for Mary, who was given just $1, and this led to her living a life of resentment full of hatred to the hand she had been dealt with. She died a bitter old lady, and it's believed that her ghost still haunts the home to take out her misery on anyone else deemed fortunate enough to own it. Numerous guests were privileged.
It's really some vindictive fucking people in the world. So I take care of your children after your wife passed, my mother, because that's what the fuck I'm supposed to do. I take care of your children after your wife passes, my mother, because that's what I'm supposed to do. Absolutely. And you leave me $1? You leave me $1.
Experiencing
I'd have dug his ass up
objects
and propped him up in a motherfucking...
strange noises.
I'd have dug his ass up and put a stick in his back and sat his ass on the couch. You babysit your own fucking kids.
And chills in the air. Something
Bastard.
that led Airbnb to advertise it as a haunted house and provide an ideal place for people to see quite how brave they are. Number 7, Leap Castle, Ireland. Located
That
in
looks
Linares,
scary.
Ireland,
Sea
Leap
moss-
Castle is believed
sea
by
moss-
most
moss
historians
and
to
shit
have been
growing
first
all
built
up
in
the
the
side.
mid-13th century. The site itself had been used previously for a ceremonial structure that's believed to have been there since the Iron Age, and the new building was owned by the O'Bannon clan, who were the secondary rulers of the region. It was a violent time, where they'd almost constantly be in battle with competing families, but amazingly they managed to hold on to power for more than 300 years before infighting between members led to a mass killing during a mass in 1532. The castle then passed hands a few times before being almost completely destroyed in a fire during the Irish Civil War in 1922, but has now been mostly restored. For a long time, people were completely unaware of the atrocities that had taken place there, but works in the early 1900s uncovered an oubliette, which was a deep room behind the chapel with sharp spikes at the bottom. The remains of hundreds of people were found down there, making this one of the biggest mass execution sites in the country, and it's believed that some of these victims are the ones who haunt the castle grounds to this day. Ghosts include the Red Lady, who walks the halls with a dagger in her hand.
The Red
Two
Lady.
girls who run through the hallways. There's
The
also
two
the
little
belief that
girls.
a non-human elemental spirit haunts the ground, which is described as being the size of a sheep with human-like face, black holes where the eyes and nose should be, and when it arrives, it releases a foul odor similar to that of a rotting corpse. Number 6, Cristo Homestead, Australia. The Monte Cristo Homestead is a colorful structure in Junee, Australia, that's widely regarded to be the most haunted building in the country. Its current owners have been there for more than 50 years. A combination of strange occurrences that take place there, along with horrific stories of what happened to previous inhabitants, have them convinced that they're joined by a trapped spirit. The main specters are believed to be the original owners, who died in 1910 and 1933, but are so vengeful that they've encouraged untold violence and tragedy since then. In 1961, a caretaker was shot dead on the grounds of the property. There's also a story of a pregnant maid who threw herself from the balcony, a child that was dropped down the stairs after a mysterious force knocked it from the arms of the nanny, a stable boy who burned to death in his straw bed, and a housekeeper who tied up his unstable son in the stable for 30 years.
All the
People who
stable.
have stayed in the house have reported eerie visions, unusually dark and evil thoughts, with regular sightings of ghosts that have, on occasion, even been known to reach out and touch people. There's a series of photographs that appear to show apparitions too, which makes you wonder quite what happened to the original owners, but they felt they need to stay
Okay, I can
around.
see.
and
Okay,
cause
now that one, that looks like a picture. That looks like a computer trick. That just, because that's just too perfect. That looks like a picture, and they just made her, like, took the occupancy. Is it occupancy? Occupancy. I think it's occupancy. I think that's the word for it. Where they make it more transparent. You know what I mean. Okay? That's what that looked like.
such tragedy to those who came after them.
I don't see nothing in there.
Mansion, Missouri.
One along that looks like...
I was just gonna say, because I pressed you. I don't know what this delay by it.
Built in 1890, the Lemp Mansion in St. Louis, Missouri became owned by the Lemp family that ran the most successful brewery in the region at the time. They were local celebrities thanks to their Falstaff beer, and it seemed fitting that they would live in one of the grandest houses in the city. Things began
I don't know if I want to drink no beer called Limp.
taking a turn for the worse for the family in 1901, however, when their youngest son, who was 28 at the time and being lined up to take over the company, suddenly died of heart complications. A few years later, his father committed suicide, and that began a whole line of murders and
That's
suicides
not
in the
his
home,
dad. That's from
spurred
a
on
movie.
by financial difficulties because of prohibition. In total, 6 members of the Limp family are believed to have died there within a period of 30 years.
The Limp
Among
family.
suggestions that some of the deaths were murders that have been covered up to look like suicide, it's thought that some of their spirits still haunt the building.
I was
to
gonna
this
say
day.
everybody in there
It's
killed their
regularly
goddamn self. Come
investigated
on
by
now.
ghost hunters, and is often mentioned as one of the most haunted buildings in America. Perhaps there are still true
It's weird because who was decorating these old houses? Because why would you put a piano in my hallway? What is the purpose of a piano being in my hallway?
clues to be found about what actually happened there a century ago. And if these are revealed, it's possible these ghosts will be able to finally rest.
I think I can see. It looks like a picture.
Palacio de Linares, Spain. The spectacular Palacio de Linares is in the center of Madrid, Spain, and was built at some point during the mid-19th century. Once owned by the Linares family, it has since been turned into the Casa de America, which celebrates Hispanic films and arts. But it was the conversion to this new use that uncovered some unexpected mysteries.
House the
Builders
American.
on the site soon started reporting strange sounds, such as footsteps, creaking doors, and crying babies. They also saw objects moving around, even though the place was supposedly completely empty. All of the incidents took place near a doll's house in the main courtyard, which had been built for Linares' adopted daughter, Raimunda. According to local legend, the couple found out that Raimunda was actually the husband's own illegitimate daughter. And to make matters worse, the mother had been a worker at his father's tobacco factory and was his father's illegitimate daughter. This made the mother his half-sister, so Raimunda was the product of an incestuous birth, which led the Linareses to try to kill her on several occasions. Quite how much truth there is to one of these stories is questionable, but if they were successful with trying to get rid of the infant, could it be her spirit that still haunts the palace?
I doubt it.
Number 3, Myrtle's Plantation, Louisiana. Built in 1796, the Myrtle's Plantation in St. Francisville, Louisiana.
All plantations should be haunted. If my tongue just fucked me up and you didn't hear what I just said because I barely understood it, let me say it again. All plantations should be haunted. Unless they were given to families of the slaves. Even if, though, all plantations should be haunted. Anything with plantation attached, if slavery was done there, there was literally a whole bunch of heinous acts done to people, torture, all of them should be fucking haunted.
It was not only supposedly built on a burial ground, but was also a place where the owners treated their slaves particularly harshly. Originally constructed by General David Bradford, it's arguably karma in action that the family themselves suffered from severe illnesses and deaths during their time in charge of the place. And they eventually lost all of their wealth following the American Civil War, since all of their fortune was tied up in Confederate currency. Since the plantation has been there have reportedly been at least 10 murders on site, along with countless other deaths of those who were overworked
As it
and poorly
fucking should.
died of old age. Now a guest house, it's believed to be one of the most haunted places in the state.
She
if
was
not the
scooting
country.
up out there,
More than
bitch.
12 ghosts
Oh,
who make
no.
regular appearances, ranging from former family members of the owners to slaves to former guests who suffered misfortunes of their own. Number 2, Jazirat Hamra, United Arab Emirates.
Y'all getting some clear pictures. They really want you to see them. They say, you better get this pose.
But there's one place where an entire village is believed to be
Death.
home to hundreds of
The
ghosts.
afterlife.
Jazirat al-Hamra in the United Arab Emirates was built on a tidal island.
That's something that I think about. Like, how is it that y'all get them to pose? Like, death, the afterlife, cross the river. Like, how do y'all get them to stand still like that for a full photo op? And
Island to the northeast of the country, and by the mid-19th century had a population of around 200 people who made a living fishing for pearls. The inhabitants of the town, however,
I don't
often
want no
found
pearls
themselves
from
in
right there.
conflict with the region's rulers, mainly due to the fact that they came from a different tribe.
All right,
This led to them
Jafar.
being repeatedly harassed, murdered, and
Cone
tortured by
that.
troops as they passed by. Eventually, in 1968, the 2,500 residents accepted an offer to be relocated to Abu Dhabi and left everything behind.
Abu Dhabi.
With no one interested in moving in, the entire village was abandoned and had fallen into a state of disrepair. Still, because of the atrocities that took place there, it's widely believed that there are potentially hundreds of spirits still present in the area, walking between the long-abandoned structures in what's quite literally a ghost town. It can be creepy enough looking around there during the day, but at night it's said you can hear screams and cries echoing across the wind, and it's a sensation that'll send shivers down anyone's spine. Number 1. The White House, Washington, D.C. The
That
White House is
motherfucker
probably
snatches
the most
souls.
famous house in the world, having first been built in the late 18th century and being the home to every president since 1800. While significant extensions and upgrades have been done since then, the core structure remains pretty much the same, even though it was almost burned down by the British in 1814. As such a historical place, it's exactly the type of building you might suspect could be haunted.
Yeah, that's
Instead
the
of there
old
being
structure.
The ghost of a traumatized victim, the one that's seen most often is one of the White House's most esteemed residents, who arguably has unfinished business, Abraham Lincoln. A photo taken in 1869 after he died is believed to show his ghost stood behind his wife. And there have been a number of highly...
See, like that, like look at how predominant his hands are. Like you can see the hands. Like if the hands wasn't there like that, I may have been like, oh damn, all right. But you can see the hands, and like Abe ain't never changed clothes. He wasn't like a t-shirt and jeans kind of nigga. He always kept the suit on with the tight neck. Like he always dressed like that. He ain't ever want to loosen up a little bit. No other cloths or garments.
intelligent guests over the years who have reported either seeing or hearing the ghost.
Cause I'm a ghost now. I want to be comfortable.
Truman and his family.
I'm naked.
Ronald Reagan.
That's what I would want my
Churchill.
ghost to have.
Either heard
Nipples,
footsteps
like.
or saw a shadow of Lincoln wearing his hat and tails walking by. With the first sightings reported in the 1860s and the most recent ones in the 1980s, could it be possible that Lincoln's ghost has finally managed to move on? Or is he simply waiting for more receptive inhabitants in the mansion for him to try to communicate with?
Wasn't enough room for him and old Trumpy's ego.
Top 15 videos about the most...
Well, all right. I was pretty skeptical of most of these in here, but, you know, wasn't my life. But, yeah, I thank y'all so much for watching these with me. I hope you like, comment, and subscribe, or like and subscribe, or just subscribe, even if you don't like. That's fine. Give a fuck. Subscribe, though. All right? Now we on to the next video. This same outfit, new video. Who this? Bye.